Okay, marketers, it's time to go over the last lecture. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. You've heard me say this many times. Marketing is about psychology, sociology, and anthropology. It's about all things human. This is the last time I will perform or do the last lecture in the format that you're hearing. I found this quote, and I believe it's really important. When a student is ready, the teacher will appear. But when the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. Let's explain. I am 64 years old. And looking back at college, I only remember 4 things. Freshman year in a film class, film is reality at 24 frames a second. That taught me the ability of creating reality in commercials that I would get involved with, or video. 2 of the insights came from my pre-law, business law class. Get it in writing, so that agreement or that employment offer, get it in writing. And next, well, before there was Uber and Lyft, Joe Gambala said, hire a taxi if you've been out drinking. No matter how expensive it is, it's cheaper than a good DUI lawyer. And then the last thing, my junior year in my sales class, marketers should work a sales job and salespeople should work a marketing job to be better at helping the firm grow. That's it. I know it's ridiculous. So we've talked about differentiation and distinction. Certainly, I shared MBA in my MBA marketing class. My professor said, marketing strategy in a sentence is this: either you differentiate so much so that your customers and prospects pick you over every other choice, or else you better have the cheapest price because you are a commodity. So I talked about differentiation this semester, about you being different than the competition you're going against in a job. And then last but not least, differentiating yourself to that special fella or lady so they pick you over all their suitors. Saw a play that's no longer on Broadway now, where the brothers Lehman, and one line that kept coming back in it time and time again, when they would make a move so ahead of everyone else that people would later come back and say, were you lucky? And they say, well, it's not luck, it's strategy. And that is what I believe. Strategy is more important than luck. And marketing strategy is the blueprint by which a firm plans to compete. Now, Porter came out with generic strategies: price, differentiation, and niche. We've talked about those. We talked about customer intimacy. Professor McDonald said only 2 questions matter. What are your key target markets in priority order? And then what is your sources of advantage? The father of modern marketing said this: the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. In the must-read Marketing Myopia, he explained the railroads didn't stop growing because the need for passengers and freight transportation declined. That's not the case. The problem was the railroads defined themselves by saying they were in the railroad business, not the transportation business. So it truly matters, what business are you really in terms of what the customer is buying. They're not buying an electric drill. They're buying something to make a hole in the wall to hang a shelf. Michelin doesn't sell tires, they sell safety. Rolex doesn't sell watches, they sell luxury. Nike doesn't sell sneakers, they sell motivation. An important question to come to an understanding of is, what job is your client hiring your product or service to do? And what other products or services could they hire to solve their problem? Peter Drucker, the grandfather of modern marketing, said this: there is only one valid purpose of a business: to create a customer, and each enterprise as two and only two functions: marketing and innovation. And then later, he tightened this up in 73, saying, marketing is so basic, you cannot consider it a separate function, a skill, or work within a business. It is the whole business seen from the customer's point of view. I live in marketing land, and this is how I believe successful marketing strategy is crafted. And regardless of what happens 30 years from now, strategy, brand, customers, and measurements will still be a part of it, because without customers and marketing, no organization will survive. I preach a customer-centric marketing approach as to a product-centric approach. Now, here's a caveat. Once you're inside the bottle, you can't read the label. Once you start working for a company, you lose that gift of seeing the product the way a customer sees it. Another part of my last lecture is how life is what happens to us while we're busy making other plans. How fast time flies while you're alive. This is a picture of me in college holding my baby daughter. On the day I graduated, my mother, my father, my uncles and aunts, and both sets of my grandparents were alive. They aren't today. I learned the hard way that love is grand, divorce is 250 grand, and found my beautiful bride, which showed proof after the third time love is still possible. So don't give up on love. Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Dr. Paul Arsenault hired me to be a teacher, so I immediately leaned on the two examples I wanted to follow: John Keating from Dead Poets Society and Mark Thackeray from To Sir With Love. I wanted to be a teacher that cared more about a subject. I want to care about my students and help them succeed in life. So let's talk about some things I learned the hard way to maybe prevent you from learning the same. No one has to be born. One day we realize we're alive. We all know we're going to die, and unless we take our own lives, that hangs over us every day. Life isn't permanent. Humans always want more. It's insatiable. There's also a difficulty of doing something with using your entire body, mind, heart, and soul, something that involves all of you. All of us have a need to be with others, and all of us have a need to be alone. The hypothesis, of course, this was a pre-religion class. That's why religion was invented. Keep this in mind, students. In life, you do not have to get 90% to get an A. 6 out of 10 wins every time. I want you to spend a good kind of selfishness as you leave here, focusing on these helpful things. Keep your saw sharp. Abe Lincoln said if he had to cut down a tree and he had 8 hours to do it, he would sharpen his saw for 7.5 of them. Your saw is your physical, spiritual, mental, social, emotional sides. Economic priorities. Very important, how you earn a living, earn your income, putting plans together, managing your debt. You must know the difference between being rich and wealthy. Wealth is an option, not yet taken, to buy something later. It offers you options, flexibility, and growth. Pursue it. Take a picture of this chart. It's good advice. We need to vote every election, or this country is no longer going to be a democracy. And whatever you are, don't be an ass. You know what? What do they like? Change the subject to themselves, dominate conversations. They brag, they cheat, they lie. They disagree with everything, use honesty to be cruel, withhold favors as if it's some sick social justice. They don't even follow civil behavior. How you make others feel about yourself says an awful lot about you. And marketers, I need you to monitor your social media time for your own physical and mental health. It's also important for your maturity. You can't be looking at your phone while you're working. I'm a believer in systems, not goals. Goals are specific objectives you are going to attain. Systems are something you do that bring about the results. The most successful people follow systems, not goals. That's how I lost all the weight that I lost, through the system. My friend, a banker, said I never made a business loan to someone who was passionate, because I was always afraid when they lost that passion, what would happen to my money? Here's the power of tiny gains. Now listen, Lex said this, the best advice she got from her dad. You believed in Santa for 8 years, believe in yourself. I am a big believer in the power of perspective. My buyer at Napa had this sign on the wall. There's tragedy and there's burnt potatoes. You need to learn the difference between the two. Robert Fulghum says, one of our best coping mechanisms is to learn the difference between an inconvenience and a problem. You break your neck and nothing to eat, your house is on fire, you have a problem. Everything else is an inconvenience. Life is lumpy. A lump in your oatmeal, a lump in your throat, and a lump in your breast are not the same lump. You must learn the difference. Kevin Hart said the only time you should look back in life is to see how far you've come. This is also important, especially around love, givers and takers. You have to know what you are and know what others are. Adam Grant's research shows there are two types of people. Read his book, Give and Take. And if you're a giver, be careful, because takers will take everything from you. I love this when Charlie Tremendous Jones came to Cardone Industries and said it. You'll be the same today 5 years from now, except for the books you read, the people you meet, the places you go, and the risk you take. Those things change us. Priorities. Teaching children to count is nowhere near as important as teaching them what counts. The things that matter most must never be at the mercy of the things that matter least, and I violated that throughout my life. Robert Fulghum figured at age 53, he'd spent all these hours doing all these things, and there wasn't much left time to do the good things. We've got to fit them in, plan for them, and schedule them. It's not the meaning of life, but the meaning in your life that matters most. Limitations. You argue for your limitations, they'll become yours. Mindset. Read it. You must have a growth mindset. Schopenhauer said, each man takes the limits of his own vision for the limits of the world. Excellence, not perfection. Notice the difference between what happens when a man says to himself, I've failed 3 times, and what happens when he says, I'm a failure. You'll never lead a cavalry charge thinking you look funny on a horse. I want you to focus on actions, results, and progress. Honest Abe sought advice that would apply in every situation and told this story, remembering this too shall pass. When you're at the highest of highs, remember this too shall pass, but when you're at the lowest of lows, you can find comfort in that. The power of choice. We're all faced with agonizing decisions. Some are moral dilemmas. Most are lesser point choices, but we are defined by the choices we make. There's only we with our capacity to love that gives meaning to the indifference of the world. Human beings find the ability to keep trying and find joy in their work and their faith and their families. I want you to be thankful every day and not take for granted anything. As I've gotten older and as my body breaks down, I am so much more thankful for good health. I want you to work like you don't need the money, love like you've not been hurt, dance like nobody's watching, sing like nobody's living, live like it's heaven on earth. I know that's an old cliche. You've heard it a lot, but it doesn't take away from the meaning. Marketers, get out in the marketplace. A desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world. Be with your customers. Innovations are born by talking to people. Get out there. You can't download this. You won't find it in a spreadsheet. Build these adult skills. They'll serve you well. Focus on the things in the middle, the things that matter between the things you can control. I want to tell you, seeking help doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong. I was a sophomore in college when I realized I walked out of the library. Why am I so sad? It's depression that I did not deal with till it blew up in my life. I want to tell you, crying doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. The Caring app, suicide prevention, is near and dear to my heart. This young man made a terrible choice, and I've seen the devastation it's had so many. I don't want my 18 to 24-year-old students to believe there is no hope. You know, you see on the social media this sparkling, shiny life, But underneath it, look at what's really there. That apple looks so beautiful, but behind it, it's decaying. Here's why you should be gentle with people. I want you to know magic happens when you don't give up, even though you want to. The universe will always fall in love with a stubborn heart. Take a picture of this slide and study it. It's how to become a successful, fulfilled adult. We've had a rough experience of COVID. We've survived through years. We're exhausted. We know better days are coming. And the last thought I want to share with you is how fast time flies when you're alive. This was me back in the fraternity when I was the guy that was in charge of the Sky Patrol. It was the 70s. Let your imagination take it from there. Cheech and Chong on the right, that's me in a Halloween costume. This picture is the celebration of my fraternity brothers, especially the gentleman to my left, Brother Tim Clay. But the gentleman on the far right was my best friend in college. It was the last time I ever saw him. He chose to not say goodbye. We found out about his death on Facebook. My sister was struck by a car. It's a miracle she survived. My best friend from 8th grade, high school, has some serious heart issues. 2020 was a crummy year. I got cancer twice in 2021. That was worse. I certainly appreciate more than I have. I lost one of my closest friends June 3rd. But when my sister passed December 29th, 2021, I got to tell you, I've never been crushed like I have been crushed. Spend time with those you love. But the seminal event of my life took place on the 21st of May when my father died. You see, I was the oldest of 5 kids. My father always envisioned I would become a doctor like him, but I was not cut out for it. We had just started to rebuild our relationship when he was taken from me. So what are the lessons? Let's go back to that Dead Poets Society. Carpe diem, seize the day. Seize the day. There's that scene where they're out in front of the trophy case and he has them lean in. Listen to the boys that are no longer on earth, sharing their legacy with you. Seize the day. Seize the day, carpe diem. Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you'll do with your one wild and precious life? Because that's all we get. And then the cruelest of all cruelties, 23 years later, on the same day, almost at the same hour, my mother joined my father in death, painfully as well from cancer. I have this to say, life isn't fair. It's just fairer than death. The purpose of life is to find a mode of being that is so meaningful. The fact that life is suffering is no longer relevant. So Coach Valvanos gives some advice before he died. Every day, if we do these 3 things, we have spent a good day. If we laughed, if we thought, and we cried. Life is too short. You must live while you are living. Enjoy it to the max. Start counting your blessings. Now, it's a gift. We get 1 life per customer, 1 shot. Bezos said this at the Princeton commencement that my friend Tim Clay actually sat there because his daughter was graduating. I will hazard a prediction when you are 80 years old and in a quiet moment of reflection, narrating for yourself the most personal version of your life story, the telling that will be most compacting, meaningful, will be the series of choices you have made. In the end, we are our choices. The guy is absolutely bat crazy. My friend Jeremy Hunter says this. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. That's why you need to pay attention. I wasn't planning on all these deaths, going through 2 divorces, suffering the losses I've suffered. We sign up for things in life, but we don't get them. They're different. Time is precious. Don't waste it. But don't be a young person to die at 25 and be buried at 75. I want you to never forget college is just the beginning. You determine what comes next. So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's what happened to me. When I was in college, I didn't care till I started working. I said, I better get on the stick, to the point where I was so engrossed in marketing and sales, I became the teacher. Thank you.